What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Kelvin Soa and I'm on a mission to helping new developers understand how to build cross-platform mobile applications with React Native. In today's video, we will be diving into Nativewind, which is a powerful utility-first library that brings the magic of Tailwind CSS right into your React Native app. If you've ever used Tailwind CSS on the web before and loved how fast and expressive it's made your styling process, you are going to feel right at home with Nativewind. In this lesson, I'll show you how to set it up in your React Native project, how to write clean, responsive styles using Tailwind-like classes, and how Nativewind simplifies styling without sacrificing flexibility. By the end of this video, you'll be writing beautiful UI with fewer lines of code with maximum consistency. Now, if that sounds exciting, don't forget to leave a thumbs up on this video, share this video as well, and then don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Now let's jump right into it. Okay, so we are back in our workspace here, and as you can see, this was the previous lesson, lesson 6. We are on the lesson 6 branch. So let me go ahead and then move to the main branch like this. And I'm going to press this button to make sure that our local main branch is the same as what we have on the remote server or the remote repository. So right now we've just made sure that it's updated. Now let's check out to the next lesson, like over here. So I'm going to say git checkout b lesson 7 like this. So this should create a new branch for us from the main branch. So as you can see, we're on lesson 7, which is the lesson that we are going to be doing today. Okay, so I'm going to comment out this one and then I'm going to add in lesson 7 like this. Right now we haven't created it, so I'm going to go ahead and then create it inside the component folder. Say new file. I'm going to say lesson 7.tsx like this, and I'm going to use our favorite snippet rnfes, and then we change the name to lesson 7 like this, and then we make sure that we import lesson 7 over here. So as you can see, lesson 7 has been imported from components lesson 7, and then that is what we are seeing here. Okay, good. So right now let's set up Nativewind. So we can go through the setup over here on the web. You just type in your browser, type in nativewind.dev like this, and they should take you to the Nativewind website. So as you can see, they are saying style your React Native apps using Tailwind CSS. So like I said earlier, the Nativewind helps us write Tailwind CSS utility classes, use the utility classes, and then use those classes inside our React Native app. So you can go through the overview page and then see some of the things it covers. Okay, so we can just press the get started button and then we get started with the installation. So you can see here in the installation, we can see for Expo, frameworkless, and then Next.js. Now we're going to be using the Expo installation guide. So the first option we are being given here is when you want to spin up a new Expo project with Tailwind CSS already configured. So you can see if you'd like to skip manual setup and then use Nativewind with Expo, you can use the following command to initialize a new Expo project with Nativewind and Tailwind CSS. So this command basically would create a new Expo project for you with Nativewind already pre-configured for you. But we are going to be going through the manual process to see step by step how we can set up the Nativewind in our React Native projects. So here, to set up the Nativewind, these are the things that we are going to be installing in our project. You can see, first of all, we are going to install the Nativewind library, and then we have the React Native reanimated and also React Native safe area context. Now, if you've already installed or set up your React Native project with Expo, like how we have done in this course, you realize that we've already installed React Native reanimated and then React Native safe area context. To confirm that, you come over here and then open your package.json file. You'd realize that we have React Native reanimated installed over here like this. So it has already been installed for us, and then React Native safe area context. So we wouldn't have to reinstall them again, as you can see here. So you can check if you have them already installed. If you have, you don't really have to install those ones. The only thing you need to install here is the Nativewind. So I'm going to be using yarn. So I'm going to say yarn add Nativewind like this. So I'm going to copy that. If you haven't installed the reanimated or the safe area context, copy everything here and then make sure you install. So I'm going to copy that And then inside the project, I'm opening my terminal and I'll paste that in here. Yarn add Nativewind like this. And they should install the Nativewind. And then the next thing is to add some dev dependencies, which is the Tailwind CSS and then prettier plugin Tailwind CSS. So you copy that as well, and then we install that one too as well like this. Paste it in here, and then you should go ahead and then install that dev dependencies. Okay, now the next thing is to set up the Tailwind config. So to do that, you are simply going to run npx tailwind css init, and it's going to create a config file like this for us. Okay, so come back to our terminal and then paste this command in here like this. Okay, okay, so as you can see, it has created the Tailwind CSS config file. And then you can, when you check your file explorer over here, you should see that it has created the Tailwind config.js file. Okay, now over here, you can see that inside the contents, they've added some files over here to show that these files should accept the Tailwind CSS styles. Okay, so let's go ahead and then copy this from the content here and then paste it over here. So we have, this simply means that if we have any file called app.tsx, Tailwind CSS should cover that file. Okay, and over here too, it is saying that if we have a component folder, any file at all inside the component folder with .js or .jsx or .cs or tsx extensions, we should make sure that Tailwind CSS is being covered over there. That's why it's inside the content array. So in our case, in the project setup here, we do not have any app.tsx file here like this inside the root directory. But what we do have is this app folder with different files in it. Okay, so what we are going to do here is just simply change the capital A to small a, because that's the name of the file, the app folder. So we have the app folder, and here is not a file, so we can clear the extension and then go ahead and add these things, this item, to show that any file at all inside the app folder should be covered by Tailwind CSS. Okay, so basically that's what we are doing here. And then the next thing is to add the Nativewind presets here like this. You come inside the presets array, we copy that, and then over here, we simply paste the presets, Nativewind presets over there like that. All right, so the next thing we do now, so you can see that you can just follow the documentation and then to set up your Nativewind configurations. So the next thing is to create a global.css file here inside the root folder. Okay, so over the root folder here like this, you are simply going to right click and then say new file, and then the file is going to be global.css. So as you can see, it's inside the root of the project. So over here, we simply copy this snippet and then we paste it over here. Okay, so the Tailwind base component and then the utilities. And then the next thing we want to do is to create a babel.config.js file inside our root like this. New file, and then we create the file babel.config.js like this, and then we copy everything in here inside the babel file like this. Okay, so we copy everything in here like this. So here it simply adds the Expo presets, and then make sure that Nativewind is being added inside our babel config. Okay, so right now the next thing we need to add is the metro config.js like this. Okay, so we create a new file here again. New file here, we paste in the metro config.js, and then we go ahead and then copy the code we have here. Okay, so that's it. It's getting the Expo metro config and then the Nativewind metro, and also the global.css file that we created has also been added here. Okay, now the next thing to do now is to make sure that we are importing the global.css from the entrance of our app, or it should sort of be at the entrance of our app, like I said. So in our project setup, when you open the app, it should be inside the index like this, or the first page of your app, or the global component of your app, if I may put it. So inside the index, we are simply going to paste it at the top here like this. So we import it over here. But then in this case, the global.css is not in this same directory. So we need to add another dot to make sure that it is moving out of the app folder and then going outside to get the global.css file like this. So that's why we're adding an extra dot over here. Okay, and over here we can see that we need to modify our app.json file and then make sure that the web bundler is Metro. So if you open the app.json file, you can see that it has already been configured for us for web support. Okay, web, and then the bundler is already on Metro, so we don't really need to make any changes over here. And that's it, basically. That's it. The rest, when we start our app, it's going to configure that automatically for us. So over here now, let me go ahead and then restart our app here like this. I'm going to say yarn start, and this should start our app for us. So as you can see, it has configured the Nativewind. You can see Nativewind made the following changes to your project to support TypeScript. So created nativewind.env.d.ts and then updated the TS config file. So it's making sure that our app or the Nativewind is supporting the TypeScript as we are using TypeScript in our project. So I'm going to say I to open on the iOS file for us. All right, good. So now, as you can see here, we are done basically with setting up Nativewind inside our project. So let's go back to lesson 7 over here like this, and then let's test and see if indeed we can add some Tailwind utility classes. So I'm going to add Tailwind classes. I mean, you can just add the class name over here. If you are familiar with Tailwind CSS on the web, it's basically the same way, the same thing happening here. Basically add a class prop and then you pass in your utility styles. Now I have a couple of videos on Tailwind CSS. I'll link them in the description, but it's on web, so I'm going to link them in the description, and probably it should pop up at the top somewhere as well. So if you want to go through Tailwind CSS on the web as well, you can also do that and build a couple of projects with them. Okay, so over here I can see that font should be bold like this, and you can see we are getting the styles in here. Let me restart the terminal to make sure that it is working. Good. So I just reloaded it. So you can see the font's bold. Now that the font is bold, let's say text, and then we add a size of, let's say, 30 pixels like this. Good. So as you can see, we are able to add these utility styles just like Tailwind CSS inside of our React Native app like this. Now I'm going to create a simple component over here with the normal style sheets that we were using with React Native, and then we're going to translate that same thing with Tailwind CSS and see how it works basically. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say style here like this, styles.container, and then I'm going to apply the styles in here. So I'm going to use the vanilla CSS and then see how it is, and then we're going to do the same thing with Tailwind CSS and see how that one also works. So I'm going to say flex1 over here to make sure it takes the vertical screen, and I'm going to say the width should be 100% like this. Let's add a padding of, let's say, 16. I think this should be fine for now. And let's make sure that let's say align items like this should be center, and then justified content should also be in the center like this. Okay, now let's add in another view here, and let's say styles.wrapper like this. Okay, and then let's come back to the styles over here, and we are going to say height should be 200, and then the width should also be 100% like this. Okay, let's see border radius, or let's first give it a background color. Background color of, we are going to use this hex code D2, D2, D2 like this. Okay, so as you can see, we can now see the box over here. Now let's give it a border radius. A border radius of 14 like this to make the edges a little bit rounded, as you can see here. And let's add a padding of 14. Okay, now we're going to create another view inside it, and let's style it. Let's see, styles dot header like this. Come over here, and then let's style the header. Let's say flex direction should be row. I align items center like this. Good, I think this is fine for now. And then inside here, we are going to add another view and a text like this, and say just this initials KS. Let's style it inline, and we're going to say font width should be bold, and then the font size should be, we can say 18 like this. Then over here we can see styles dot profile like this, and then we can go ahead and then style the profile image container. Okay, so we can see that the height should be 50, the width should also be 50 like this. Let's say the background color can be gray like this, and then the border radius should be 50% so that it is rounded. Then we can say the items should be inside the center, and then we justify content center to make sure that the text is inside the center like this. Okay, good. Now the next thing that we want to do here inside the header is to add another view. But before that, let's add a little margin on the right side of the profile image. Let's say margin right should be, let's use 12. Okay. And then let's come back here, add the view, add a text over here, and then say Kelvin Soa like this. Let's add another text here and say subscribe to Tech Ocean. Let's add an emoji over here like this. Okay, so let's style this text a little and then see font width 600, and then font size should be 16 like so. All right, then over here we can have a view here like this, and then let's add an inline style, and then we are going to say margin top should be 12, and in here we are going to add some lorem ipsum text. So I'm going to say lorem because we are using TypeScript. You can simply press enter and it's going to generate the lorem text for us. So I think this is supposed to be outside the header. So it's going to be outside the header, like over here like this. Okay. All right, good. So we have this here. Let's sort of change the color a little bit for the text. Let's say the color should be, use this hash code like this. Okay, so use a subtle change here. So we have this, simple components that we've just created, sort of like a profile card. Now here you can see that we used vanilla CSS to do this, and you can see already we are at 64 lines of code. So I mean, this is how originally we were doing things with the native CSS. Okay, now let's go ahead and then do the same thing but with Tailwind CSS. So I'm going to copy this over here, and then I'm going to write this comment, Tailwind CSS build, so that we see the difference. Okay, so I'm going to paste it in here like this. So let's add inside this wrapper, let's add a margin bottom. Okay, margin bottom to sort of create a separation of the two of them. Okay, so this is vanilla CSS. Let me add a text on top of it so that we see text vanilla CSS over here. Let's see. font weight should be bold. Font size should be, let's give it 20 like this. All right, so vanilla CSS. Now let's do the Tailwind CSS. So let's even start with the text over here. For the Tailwind CSS, come in here and then paste this. Now, instead of doing this inline style, we're going to do something else. Remove this, and then we are going to now bring the class name and see that our font should be bold, and then the text should be 20 pixels like so. Okay, so instead of, we're going to say Tailwind CSS. So you can see how like you can simply write this utility classes to get the same effect for your containers or your views. Now for the style, the wrapper style, we can go ahead and then clear this wrapper style, and then we add a class name utility here, and start applying the style. So for the wrapper, you can see we are adding the height and then width and background colors. Let's do that. Let's say the height is what? The height, simply write h, and then we say 200 pixels like this. And then the background color BG, then you pass in the hex color, which is D2, D2 to D2 like this. And then the next thing is what? A width of 100% and a border radius of 14. Let's go back. Width of 100% and then rounded. You can see for this case, we can use rounded. We have, see the rounded, we have SM, we have MD, LG. We can just go ahead and use the MD like this, or we can even use LG over here. Okay, and then we also need to add the padding and then a margin bottom. So let's do that. See, padding of 14, and then you can even ignore the margin bottom. So let's increase the edges a little. Let's say rounded XL like this. Okay, I think this is fine. All right, so that is basically that for the wrapper. And you can see how we have been able to minimize the styling over here into one line of code. So that's how efficient we can do things with Tailwind CSS. Now, this is the next one is the header. The header simply is flex direction of row and then items center. So we can simply clear this, and then we add this class name and say flex, and then say flex row like this. And then we say items center like this. See, so you can see it's back in the center. And then the next one is profile. Let me copy this, and then so that I can see everything at the top without having to go up and down. Let me comment it out. So for the profile, we have, let's clear this, and then say class name. For the profile, we have height, right? So height, simply say h, height to be 50 pixels like this. And then the next thing is width, also 50 pixels. Width is 50 pixels. The background BG is what? Is gray. Okay, it's gray. In this case, we're going to use the 600 shade BG gray like this, or let's even use the 500 shade like this. That's fine. And then the next thing we want to add is the border radius. So we are going to say rounded should be full like this to make sure that it is rounded, as you can see here. And then we are going to say items center, justify center, just like we did for the CSS. And you can see it's inside the center. And then we add a margin right, which is MR of, let's say 2 or even 4 to see how it looks. So yeah, we have that. Let's make it 3. So as you can see, we have that as well. Good. And then over here where we have the name initials, we can simply clear this. Or let's basically add that. So class name, the font weight is, well, let me clear this one over here. Now the font weight, the font is bold like this, and then the font size, so text, which is text, is what, 18 pixels like this. Now I can go ahead and then clear this inline style I have over here. And then over here too, we do a similar thing. So let me go ahead and then copy this over here. Or even, let me just copy this over here. Paste it over here like this. And change the bold to medium. Okay, medium like this. Now the text is going to be 16 pixels as we have here. So I can go ahead and then clear this inline style. And then we can keep this as it is. And over here, add a class name and say empty, which is margin top of what, 12 pixels. So 12 pixels like this. Then we can clear this over here. And here too, we can simply say class name. And then the text is going to be this hex color we have over here. So I'm going to say hash and paste it in here. Then we can go ahead and then clear this. Good. So you see how easy it is to actually use Tailwind CSS to style your components. And you see how minimalistic it is and how it has made our code clean. Now, if I close it, this whole thing simply is everything here. If we were using vanilla CSS, you can see how it took us a lot of effort to actually apply the styles, write the components. When you're done, get some namings for it. When you're done, come down here and then you start applying the utility styles and stuff like that. So you see how like easy we can do some of these things with Tailwind CSS. And with Tailwind CSS, we have some inbuilt animations that we can actually add. So for the view over here, we can see animate. And you can see we have these options: animate, none, animate, spin. Let's try the spin and see what we have over here. Let's reload the system, the app, to see. Let me restart the app. See, yarn start. Now your app might break or something. You can just restart the app. This happens sometimes when you're using React Native. So we restart the app, and you can see the animate spin is working. Our component is spinning. And let's try the other options. Let's see the pulse. This is the animate pulse, and you can see it is sort of giving this pulse effect over here. We also have bounce over here. Let's see how the bounce also works. So as you can see, it is bouncing. Okay, so this is basically some of the things we can do with Tailwind CSS. It makes things a lot easier when you're applying styles. Let's add a margin top to this and say margin top should be 6 so that it comes down. I don't think it's even enough. Let's see, 20 rem. That's too much probably. Oh, I think I'm applying it in the wrong place rather. So bring this over here. It should rather be on the view like this. So let's say 2 rem. Good. So that we can still see the title as it bounce. Let's say 3 rem or 4 rems. All right. So you see how like easy it is to apply these utility classes, Tailwind utility classes in React Native. Just add the class name and then pass in the utility values. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be dropping a link down in the description to some of the videos I have on Tailwind CSS, some of the projects that we've built using Tailwind CSS, so that you can have a feel of how you can apply some of these utility classes. Now, if this video has been helpful, do want to hit the thumbs up button, share this video as well, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. It really helps the channel grow and helps this video get available to a wider audience. And I'm going to appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much, and then catch you in the next video.